Well, welcome into a very exciting episode of The Scene. I am your host, Bubba Startz, and with me today from the Lead Gen podcast is Jennifer Blake. Welcome to the show, Jen.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited to have you. I'm a huge fan of your content online. I love your attitude towards podcasting in general. But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about your history in production and broadcasting, and then we'll pick it up from there. How's that sound?
That sounds fantastic. To just get in a little bit of history with me, I was always the kid walking around with a camera, trying to upload my stuff to my computer, the videos and stuff as a kid. With my friends, always recording, videos, and I would always be the announcer on there. That was my thing. And when I was very young, I decided that I wanted to get into broadcast journalism. I wanted to be the person that you saw on like MSG and things like that, like announcing and things like that. So went to college, went for broadcast journalism, absolutely loved my time there. I got to be part of so many different amazing projects, met amazing people. And then when I got out of college, I actually got into like one of my dream careers. I got to be announcing for the New Jersey Devils, the New York Jets. I was in front end media. So I was the person with the whole camera crew following them, talking to like players, reporters, just things like that, interviewing. So I would be on like MSG, ESPN Plus, things like that. And then one day I hated it. So just happened overnight. I just hated it. It's not an easy industry to be in at all. So I was like, let me go behind the scenes a little bit here. I was kind of over in front of the scenes and things like that. Let me go behind the scenes. So I was very familiar with radio because I was heavily involved in radio in college, but I was like, let me double back into it, but behind the scenes. And then I actually came across this podcast and I was like, I love editing things. And, there's no reason why I can't do this because it's kind of like a hybrid of like TV and radio, right? So I got into it and I absolutely loved it. And I've been in the industry ever since. I've gotten to work with the smallest startup shows, some of the largest names out there that you could think of. I specifically work with entrepreneurs. Specifically, I do like to work with like hobbyist podcasters. Those are always fun, but I really like to produce content that converts into something monetary for my clients because that's what I'm good at. But I've been in the industry ever since, and I absolutely love the podcasting industry.
Right. And the name of your podcast, the Lead Gen podcast, kind of alludes to that, which a lot of what we do is all entertainment based, right? Arts and music, getting more into podcasts, but there's so many different roles that a podcast plays. And when I found some of your content online, I was like, oh my God, she gets it. Like so many people get caught up at the like, well, I'm going to start, but I need this and I need this and I need this. And I was like, literally, you need freaking Zoom. And that is it. Hit record and just go. That's what you need to do. And that is all the short form content that I see from you now is the hardest part of getting started is getting started. And it's like, oh my gosh. It's so hard to get that point across though, isn't it?
Yes, no, for sure. And it comes from a place of being secure and knowing who you are. And it takes practice. I'm not saying it is hard to get in front of a camera and talk at first. It really, really is. And like you brought up, there's a podcasting niche. When I mean literally for everything, there is probably a podcast on utensils. I'm not even joking. Look it up. There probably is. But something I like to say when, I'm working with someone who's starting a podcast or looking to get into it. What are your goals? Like, what are you trying to do? Even if that's just having a podcast for fun, that's great. That's a goal. That's fantastic. If you're looking to generate leads for your business, that's a goal. If you're looking to launch a book one day, but you're looking to just build up your community first in your niche, that's a goal. But come in with the strategy beforehand. But what I like to say is that while you're sitting there worried about your lighting, worried about your camera, there is someone over here that is just taking their phone, recording something and hitting publish. So you are years behind them. So start recording yesterday. Like, what are you doing? Your content won't perform any better or worse than what it already would from the quality of things. Like it just won't. So just hit record. It's okay if it's bad, just hit publish.
And It's so easy, but like you said, it's so hard. Now, I'm someone who grew up in front of a camera. I have been on stage, or not necessarily on camera, but in front of people speaking
Yeah.
my entire life. I never had any trouble in speech class. I never had, I've been on stage playing music since I was 13, right? I got a quarter of a century into just being live all the time. And now we're trying to bring that to everyone as just, hey, this is your show. This is your chance to nobody else is going to talk about you, right? Especially in this day and age where everyone is so busy talking about themselves. Like, you need to take that onus on yourself and to just do it. Just do it. And you don't have to post everything. Like, we hardly ever go live on our podcast interviews because you never know what somebody's going to say, right? But getting practice in front of the camera it's so hard. Get used to seeing yourself in that way, and seeing yourself in that light is so important to the overall thing. But yeah, if you don't start now, and you're going to think your way into a hole that you'll never be able to crawl out of.
Oh yeah, and even like I've worked on professional studios with the thousands of dollars worth of cameras and things. You could still get nitpicky when you're even at that level. No matter what, there's always going to be something that you want to change, but just have the mindset of starting and evolving as you go. Even my own personal podcast, it did not look like this when I started. And guess what? There are things that I want to improve on, okay? And guess what? There's always going to be things that you're going to want to improve on, but just get started. It's not easy, but practice and just get started, because you have to make yourself an expert in your field. No one is going to point you out and be like, oh, this person knows what they're talking about, and they go onto your content and nothing's there. You have to tell yourself that you are the expert and show that. Even if you're not number one, like, you don't need to be, the Steve Irwin of animals. You can be that local person or whatever. That's completely fine, but no one will know it unless you say it.
Well, and there's just so many people on the planet, right? There's so many people out there, and there's so much content going out, and it's not centralized anymore. So really, you just have to be further down the journey than the people that are behind you, right? It's like the old analogy of the lion chain. Like, I don't have to be faster than a lion. I just have to be faster than you. Well, now we're kind of chasing after the lion, right? We're chasing the lion down, and it's not necessarily that you have to be the fastest in the group. You don't have to be the best right out the gate. But if you don't get started, you're falling behind everyone else who decided to get off the sideline and get into the game and just start, we say it a lot, building the plane as you go.
Oh yeah, 100%. And not even that, like, even then after you hit publish, you still don't have to aim to, quote, be the best, because there is a niche for you. And that audience is there because that larger person might not work for those people. Your audience is out there. Do not worry about it. So just get started. Don't overthink it. And it's so easy to say that, but just practice. Practice by just talking in front of your phone. Pretend, no one is there. And, I hate the term, like, pretend everyone's in their underwear, blah, blah, blah. Like, that does not work. Okay. What I like to do is I almost have a switch in my brain. And I pretend that Jen is just acting right now, and she is just using her brain and speaking in front of an audience, and she could switch that off when she's done. That's kind of like my little trick when I used to speak in front of television, because I have like thousands of people listening to me. It could be a little nerve-wracking, but just talk like you were listening. If you were sitting in the audience, what would you want to hear, and speak in that way? And just start. It really is, just start. It's so frustrating to watch, but really it is true. Just start.
Yeah, and that's why I quit making my own content that said that, and I just share yours now.
I can be your pawn. That's fine. I'll speak on your behalf.
Yeah. Well, and that kind of brings us to another point. You've come in as one of our experts for the Midwest Podcasting Network Facebook group, and we're looking to evolve that into a community that is not just on Facebook, but in the world, standing on its own for exactly this reason. There's so many people, and we probably met in a Facebook group that's much larger, right? But a group that's 70,000 people strong doesn't really serve everyone in that group, right? So we're looking to form a little bit smaller community where we can do more of this. We can do more education. We can do more, hey, we're going to meet you where you're at, and then pull you along at whatever speed that you want to go, right? And making different things available to people, because I have a passion for not just podcasting, but for helping people podcast, right? Which obviously you do as well. I mean, it's not all about the money, although I'm sure, you're just getting mega rich off of podcasting, right?
Yeah, you don't worry. I have an episode coming out tomorrow actually about how to go about monetizing your podcast. And the first thing I say, I'm going to address the elephant in the room. Don't think that you're going to make $1 million after publishing on a Tuesday and Friday you're going to the bank. Like, that is not it at all.
No, but you found your niche in the helping people, right? In the coaching sector, in the, hey, come on my show, we'll talk about your business, and then boof, you have a 20-minute commercial about you and your business, because products don't sell anymore. People sell, right? It's stories sell. And that's what podcasts are, is they are merely a vessel for you delivering your story and you bringing out that little bit of you, right? That other people are going to gravitate to, that builds your audience, that builds your client base, that builds that community that you're going to make money off of, no matter what industry you're in. I got one guy, John Morris is the host of the Get Shit Done experience, and he sells copiers, right? Like they're but they're talking to clients of theirs and getting these people on and just having a conversation. And then inside of that, they run a few ads for their copier company or their media company. And that's what their podcast is. It's not related to copiers or toner or anything like that, but it's delivering their message. It's delivering great entertainment value. Meanwhile, they're subliminally in there so that you don't even know why you're shopping with them when you go to buy your next copier, right? Like, it's just because that's who I go to. I go to my guy. And that's, I think, getting that through to not just creative people, but to every single business owner out there, is like, look, you at least got to do one episode with a lead gen podcast or with a scene projects or with as many of them as you can. And then you don't have to spend the money on all the podcast equipment. You have this basis now of you delivering your story.
Oh, no, everything that you said is 100%. And not even that. Like I said, there's every business and or personal brand should have a podcast. Okay. It should, because it builds up trust, because that's half the reason for conversions on the back end on the business standpoint, is that they trust you. Okay. And by going on a podcast or having your own podcast, it instantly builds that trust value, because they feel like they're on a FaceTime call with you. Like, hey, what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. They feel like that they're hanging out with their friends.
Get out of my head, Jen. Get out of my
head. They love it. Not even that. It makes you seen, after if done right, you seen as the go-to source and the trusted industry expert, just because you're out here talking about it. Yes, guess what? There is probably someone out there who knows how to podcast better than me, which I don't think there is, but we'll pretend that there is. But anyway, but it makes you seen as the go-to industry expert. So when people are thinking of things like, I don't know, let me think of a podcast. Let's say that there's a nail podcast out there. Oh, I want to get my nails done, but I don't know what to get. Oh, I saw that nail podcast. Let me check it out quick, and I'll see like what I should get, or like whatever, but it's that trust value, that industry expert, that go-to source that's really going to rope it in.
And that's what it is. A podcast is a trust building vessel. It is just your opportunity to, like you said, show up on a FaceTime call with these people once a week, once a month. I don't think that's often enough. Me, I'm on every single day with new episodes coming out, plus all the short form content. Maybe that's too much. I don't care. I got all this back content that needs to go out. No, and honestly, we're trying to build out the Scene Projects Network as something that's rolling out content like a TV station. We're on 24/7, right? And rolling it. And every single day you have content coming out. Now, to do that by myself is very hard, right? There's not enough hours in the day. But that's why I started reaching out to people like yourself, people like a John Morris with the Get Shit Done experience, to say, hey, would you be interested in, quote unquote, syndicating and throwing us an episode a week that we can run out on our stuff to bring us some content, but also link that episode now to your stuff, and people are coming into your world and absorbing all of that thing, and then just growing this massive community around that. That's the big goal. I hope that we get there sooner than later. The point is that we're going to get there because we're all out there working. We're all out there moving. It's just, how do we accelerate everyone's timeline? And that's where the Midwest Podcasting Organization and network kind of came from, is that, how do we start gathering these people? How do we go out and pick the best from what I see, right? Go out, pick the best people, bring them together, make them experts in their field just by whatever credibility I have. I am nominated for a Content Creator of the Year award, so I'm going to challenge you on that Best Podcaster title. But we can go back and forth. That's okay. I'll represent my belt well.
All right, I like it.
I love sports, right? We started the Scene Project Sports Network because it was like, well, why should we defer to anyone else? Like, not that we're trying to cover the Devils or the New York Jets, but there's just too much drama with the Jets. I don't have that kind of time. But covering smaller teams, right? Arena football.
Yes.
We've dipped into some wrestling, right? Some pro wrestling, amateur wrestling.
Women's coverage is in sports industry is taking off the past 2 years. If you haven't been in it, get in it now. And if you're not in it, you've missed the train. Women's sports coverage is taking off. So that's a whole nother segment.
Good. Well, Jen, we're going to have you as a host of one of our Scene Project Sports Network shows that covers nothing but women's sports, and that's all it is. So I know that you're super busy with everything that you got going on just with your own podcast, but what else do you do? Is it all podcast all the time for you?
No. So that's just the surface. Okay. Podcast is my Trojan horse. That's what it really is. And that's how every business and personal brand should use it as. What I do is I use podcasting as a lead gen for businesses and or brands. But what I do is I cut my marketing time by 80% by having one long form podcast. That's what I really do. So I use my podcast as a lead gen tool. Get it? But what I do is, example for me, and this is what I do for my clients, is that I have one long form video podcast. Okay. And we are looking to generate leads back to your business with that. So we have the long form podcast, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all the major platforms, right? Blah, blah, blah. Then what I do is I have the long form out on YouTube. Okay. Then we take that and repurpose it into social media clips going out every single day. So we have that segment. Guess what? I'm going back to my long form podcast. I'm repurposing that into a blog post for my website. I'm going back to the long form podcast and I'm repurposing it into an email campaign that goes out every single week. I'm going back to my podcast and I'm repurposing it into graphics so that I can make a downloadable template to capture emails for the traffic that's coming to my website. See what I'm doing? I am using that long form piece of content because normally people do blog posts, email campaigns, email capture, all as separate marketing tools, and you have to get creative individually for each one. Why? When you have this long form piece of content, one stone, 20 birds, you can repurpose your long form piece of content into so many other things. And not even that, it's niche specific. You already put the creative work in. Why are we not repurposing this into 20 different things? Not even that. Repurpose it into courses, webinars, books, downloadable PDFs. I can't even come up with them all, but so many businesses are using so much time, so much resources on getting creative on these individual things, when in reality, they could just do one long form piece of content and cut their marketing budget and their time by 80%.
Are you using AI? What are your thoughts on artificial intelligence and podcasting?
Yeah, for sure. So as far as an editing standpoint, I don't. I use, myself and I. However, for things like blog posts, webinars, email campaigns, I do use AI, but you have to use it in the right way. AI is a tool. It is a tool in the room. See it as a second voice, second thought in the room. So always know how to prompt it, but also check it over. use it as a second person in the room. So I do use AI, but I use it as like, hey, what do you think about this? Oh, actually, I don't want to go that route. What about this route? Oh, cool. I like that wording. Let's use that. That's how I use it.
That's amazing. Well, I know that you are a busy gal and you got a ton of stuff going on. Why don't you tell everybody how they can find you and how they can use the Lead Gen podcast for their own lead gens?
Oh yeah, you got to get tons and tons of lead gens after me. So you could find me at Jen the Podcast Expert, or you on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, or at hookmediaproductions.com.
Awesome. Well, Jen, thank you so much for being part of the scene and for being on the show today.
Yeah, no, I had a great time, and I'm excited to, just stay rolling with you and everything that's going on.